Here's how I groom both of my bunnies. I'm going to show you everything I do and walk you through it because I know grooming bunnies is not always easy, but it doesn't have to be so hard either. So if you have a bunny, you know that they can be squirmy. If they don't want to stay still, they're not going to stay still. If you try to put them somewhere and keep them there, they're probably not going to do that. However, bunnies are typically scared of heights, which we can use to our advantage when it comes to grooming because we can put them up high somewhere on a towel, of course, so that they don't slip, and they're probably going to stay pretty still. I always say it's best to have a second set of hands with you just in case, especially if you're just getting started with a new bunny or if your bunny's not used to being groomed, or just depending on how squirmy your bunny is. I always like to start our little grooming routine by brushing them first because the more loose fur I can go ahead and get off of them in the beginning means the less fur flying all around and getting all over me throughout the rest of it. We've been using the Fur Buster comb by Small Pet Select for years now. I'll link it down below. I really like this comb because it's gentle enough while still doing a great job of getting the loose furs. A good indicator of when it's time to groom your bunny is when they start getting those little tufts throughout their fur. You can see them sticking out, and a lot of times it's near their butt area or even on the sides of them. These little tufts are going to be incredibly easy to just very, very gently pull out. Absolutely no tugging or pulling. They're also quite satisfying to pull out, so sometimes I opt to just pull them out instead of brushing them, but the brush would work just as well here. You can see those small purple rubber pieces throughout the Fur Buster comb, which allow it to very easily get those loose furs without the pulling, which is one of the reasons why I like this comb. My little technique that I like to do with my bunnies is to use one hand to kind of hold them down, press them very gently to ensure that they're staying still, while also petting them to maybe comfort them just a little bit. The next part of our grooming routine is nails, and I know that nails are a little scary, or at least they can be scary, but again, they don't have to be scary. There's several ways that you can do it, and you want to find out what works best for you and your bunny and what you're comfortable with. When I got my first bunny, Denzel, I was terrified to cut his nails. He was very squirmy at the time. He wasn't used to me. I wasn't used to him. I didn't know what I was doing. So I ended up taking him to the vet for the first few times that I needed his nails cut to watch what the vet was doing and just have them cut because I didn't think I was able to do it at first. Taking him to the vet each time to cut his nails was obviously a bit costly, so eventually I started doing them at home and became more and more comfortable with it, and we've never looked back. So one of the ways that you could trim a bunny's nails is by, again, having them on a high surface just like you could with brushing. This, for the most part, keeps them still when they're on a blanket or rug or something. But I personally find it a little hard to get it into a good position to get that right angle when they're up on a high surface. Now, this might be because I'm doing it on my own and it's just hard to get into the right position while you're holding them on the high surface. If you have a second set of hands, this way would probably be much easier. However, it's just not my favorite way to do it, so that's that. Another way to possibly trim a bunny's nails is by putting them in a little bunny burrito where you can gently wrap them in a towel. And this will help eliminate some of the kicking because bunnies love to kick, especially when in a position like this. So the bunny burrito helps stabilize them a little bit. This is arguably the cutest method, but again, having a second person to hold the bunny burrito while the other person is able to just focus on trimming the nails is going to make a world of difference. Also worth noting here is one of the reasons why I think it's so important to consistently handle your bunny. It makes nail trims, grooming, vet visits, transporting so much easier when you've already been consistently conditioning your bunny to being held and pet and handled like this. Oftentimes I hear that I'm very lucky that my bunnies let me do their nails and let me give them medicine and let me take them to the vet and handle them, but I started handling them as soon as I got them. I wanted to make it a very positive experience so that in the future, when these kinds of things needed to be done, it wouldn't be so outlandish. It wouldn't be something that they were unfamiliar with and that they could be comfortable in these kinds of situations. As comfortable as possible, I should say, because let's be real, nail trimming is not exactly a fun activity. But this is my preferred way of cutting my bunny's nails. I like to set them on their little cottontail. I slightly lean their back on my stomach so that they're supported, and I use the one hand to get the nail and find the nail through all of the fur, and I use the other hand to cut. It's important to never lay a bunny flat on their back because it basically immobilizes them and it's kind of scary for them. So with mine, I always leave them at an angle. They're leaned up and supported against my back, never laying flat down. Here I wanted you to see that even though Denzel and Sully are pretty chill about being held, they still get squirmy from time to time. You know, they're bunnies. They're gonna squirm and kick sometimes. It's normal. You just gotta work with it. I usually let them get out of the position that they're squirming about in and give them a few seconds and reset. I'll talk about the quick of the nail when we get to Denzel, but basically I always trim a very, very tiny amount off, and then we'll go back and take more off if the nail ends up being too long. I never want to cut too far. Trimming past a certain point will hurt them, so I prefer to trim off just a little and have to do it more often, just in an effort to be safe than sorry. And in an effort to make this as positive of an experience as possible for the bunny, I always give them a little treat afterwards. Moving on to Denzel. Denzel is a Holland Lop, whereas Sully is a Netherland Dwarf. I have noticed so much more shedding in Denzel, the Holland Lop, than I have Sully. Bunnies just in general shed a lot, and this is why grooming is so important for them, because if they ingest too much of their hair by cleaning themselves as often as they do, they can very easily get a blockage and you'll end up at the vet. Most bunnies typically molt twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, and this is where they shed their coats. They are going to be shedding so much more, and grooming is going to be even more critically important during these times. Sometimes during molting season, I'll be grooming Denzel every single day because he sheds that much, and he'll still end up with tufts of fur all over him. So beware of bunny molting season. You've been warned. So here you can see Denzel expressing some displeasure about being groomed, but he's not really moving too much because he doesn't want to step off of the security of that blanket, and when he does, I very gently and quickly place him back. I try to make these grooming sessions as short and sweet as possible so as to not test their patience very much. So when they start getting antsy and extra squirmy, we typically call it quits pretty quickly after that, but we've been able to build up to this point. When you're first starting out grooming your bunny and getting them used to it, maybe you only can do it for a minute or two, and that's okay. You can build your way up. The key is to be consistent so that hopefully over time they can learn what to expect. They'll know it's not going to be a scary experience. They're going to get a treat at the end. You're petting them. You're there with them. You can even talk to them, and a lot of times that'll help them feel better. Okay, moving right along and back to the bunny nail trimming we go. So with Denzel, I do it a little bit differently. I don't put him on his little cottontail. Well, I actually do for his back nails, but they don't need to be trimmed nearly as often, at least from what I've seen, as the front nails. So for this purpose, I'm only keeping him flat on his stomach. So bunnies, just like cats and dogs, have a quick inside their nail. It's kind of like a bundle of blood vessels. If you cut into the quick, they're gonna bleed. It's gonna hurt them, and it's not gonna be pretty. I do believe that there's a quick stop powder you can use in the event that does happen. However, that's completely out of my realm of expertise. This is part of the reason why I am so conservative in trimming their nails. I avoid the quick at all costs. I don't even come close to it, and that's why I prefer to cut their nails a little bit more often, because I will not cut them too short. In bunnies who have white or somewhat clear nails, the quick is going to be much more visible. It's that pinkish color on the inside. However, with bunnies who have brown or blackish nails, the quick is going to be much harder to see. Denzel has the white nails and Sully has the brownish nails, so I get the best of both worlds. Now, sometimes for Sully, if I hold him up to a very bright light, like a window, or even sometimes I'll use a flashlight and shine it up under his nail while I'm cutting it, it makes the quick a little bit more visible. The last part of our bunny grooming routine is ears, and we just recently added this to our grooming routine because we didn't know about it beforehand, but our vet told us that lot bunnies in particular are more prone to ear infections and ear problems because those big floppity loppities catch a lot of stuff. So we've started doing these ear drops in both of Denzel's ears twice a week, and we just drop in, I think it's 6 or 7 drops as per our vet's recommendation, and then I try to gently massage his ear, and he shakes everything out very violently. These are bunny safe ear drops, and they were prescribed to us by our vet, so I think ear drops would be something great to mention to your vet if they haven't talked to you about it already, if you have a lop-eared bunny, or if you just notice your bunny scratching their ears a lot. Denzel really hates this, and I feel bad for having to do it, but I know it's necessary and it's going to help him, so we must. Of course, we always finish a grooming session with a treat, and Denzel is very irritated because of the floppity-loppity situation, So he's aggressively going to take this from me. And that's pretty much all we do for our bunny grooming routine. Bunnies are naturally very clean animals. They're bathing themselves constantly, so bunnies don't need baths like dogs or cats. Let us know if you have any questions, and feel free to share any tips or tricks for grooming in the comments, so maybe we can make grooming bunnies a little bit easier for everybody. Here's a Denzel flick of his feet to send you on your way. Thanks for watching.